Welcome back. Another episode of RX Radio. Your host, Jordan Shallow. For those of you joining us for the first time, welcome. For those of you returning, welcome back. Big episode today, and huge thanks to our guest, Kelsey Heenan, for joining us. Kelsey is the founder of HitBurn. She has been in the digital fitness business space for well over a decade. Today, we talk about the evolution of the fitness business and content creation. She's seen it all. She's done it all. She's done it at such a high level. Her and her husband, Dennis, unbelievably resourceful when it comes to all things business, even outside of the fitness industry. And I think that's like something to make note. Fitness business still abides by principles of business at large. We talk a lot about that and the intersection between the two in today's episode. Super useful if you're a coach looking to expand into the online space. Speaking of which, she was actually nice enough to jump in this semester at PSL1. So huge shout out for her gracing us with her presence weekly in the lectures. So it's been great to have her. If you're interested, I have had people reach out. This current semester's registration is now closed. However, if you go to www.pre-script.com, you can get on the wait list for next semester. And it's actually the only discount that we do. So we don't discount the Prescript Level 1 course unless unless you're on the opt-in list. So if you go to pre-script, that's pre-script.com. Well done, Jordan. And you click PSL1, you can get a discount just for putting your name on the wait list. You'll be the first informed when next semester goes live. The next course will be starting up in May, and that list will turn open for sale in a handful of weeks now. So be sure to get on the list before it goes open. Once it goes open, the chance for a discount goes away. Not forever, but it goes until the next time we run the course. So if you guys are looking to get into Prescript Level 1 and sort of start the Prescript coaching certification journey, Level 1, Level 2, we just got back from Tampa Bay. Level 3 just concluded only a handful of days ago. So very excited about that. If you're looking to be a part of the family, get involved in the community and really up your game, toss your name on that list. You'll get a discount just for putting your name. Again, it's the only discount that we offer. So without any further ado, huge shout out again, Kelsey Heenan. So much value to take away if you're a coach looking to grow your online business and grow not just your social network, but your personal network as well. She's probably one of the best to do it. Been so lucky to cross paths with her and Dennis throughout the years and look forward to doing that more in the future. So check out her podcast, check out her on Instagram, all links in the show notes. And if you guys want to get on that opt-in list, do check it out and enjoy the episode. We'll see you next week.
You're tuned in to RX Radio.
I'm going to do the generic podcast thing. I used to just start these and I realized that I just kind of got on and just talked to people that I wanted to talk to. And I was like, it's probably not the most useful. So I've defaulted of late to doing kind of the generic podcasty thing, which I haven't done for 450 episodes, which is hi, welcome to the show. I can't act well. So I'm going to try hi, Kelsey, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Jordan. Great to be here.
I see. I used to work in a commercial gym, and they were just you ever done role play stuff with sales or anything like that?
Yeah.
I just couldn't. I just can't do it. And well, here's the thing. And one of the topics of conversation, I was is it an Oscar? Oscar goes to acting, right?
Yes.
And
Grammy is music. Yeah.
I told you I don't get out much. And we spoke at a conference earlier this year, late last year, and you were doing Dennis, and you were on stage, and you were doing a rapid fire content creation sales pitch thing, and I was blown. I was how the fuck did she just off the cuff? A minute video back when I started would take me 6 hours, give or take, and you're just rolling. I have no idea how you do it. So for those of you unfamiliar, could you give just a brief background and all that generic intro podcast shit, and then we'll dive into the fun stuff.
Yes. So my name is Kelsey Heenan. I am a trainer, and my husband Dennis and I have a company called HitBurn. So a lot of the workouts are interval training, but we also include some other types of training as well. So we've been running it together for almost a decade. And basically what we do is we have an app, but we also do 4 challenges per year. And we've created a lot of content along the way, a lot of different workout programs. And yeah, that kind of brings me here.
How did it start? Because 10 years ago, I don't even know if I had an Instagram account 10 years ago, and you guys
Yeah.
had a fitness business. I didn't even know that was a thing. Like, what was the impetus to like, hey, like, I think there's something here. Like, what was the evolution of that to get it to the starting line?
Yeah, so we started before Instagram was really a thing, and we started mostly with affiliate marketing through email. So basically, Dennis started the company. He was a trainer originally while I was studying and starting to train and all these things. And yeah, so he started the company. And basically, after working in a commercial gym for a while, he was like, "Kels, I'm gonna quit and learn how to do online stuff." And so he learned how to build websites. He learned how to do email marketing, all this kind of stuff. He'd made maybe $200 online the year before. So it was very much a risk, but we were also very young, and you kind of do these things without thinking when you're young. So anyway, so he started to learn all of that back end stuff while I was training and working another job at the same time. And then we decided a year later, let's make it a goal for me to join, and we will go fully online. We will travel, we will do pop-ups and create content and workouts for people digitally. So in 2014, I quit my job, and we started. We were not making very much money at all, but it was the kind of thing where if you are all in, and we didn't, again, we were young, we didn't have children, we didn't have any expenses really. We lived for less money traveling the world, doing this fitness thing than we did in Minnesota in the suburbs. So we just did it very cost effectively. And we kind of just dug in. And along the way, we found out a few different things that were great for us to be able to grow our email list. And then social media started to come out. And so we started dabbling in that. But really, to start, it was about as dinosaur as you can get on the internet, which was affiliate marketing through emails. Meaning, Jordan, you have a program, I have a program. So great, I'm going to email it to your program because I know your stuff is great. I get commission on the sales that I make, and vice versa. So it's kind of, you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours. And then it kind of just took off from there.
When social media entered into the conversation of like, oh, okay, like this is clearly a point of leverage that we can use. Was there trepidation and was there trepidation in adopting it? Like what did early content look like? Like, was there ever any apprehension around? I know a lot of people who look to start their fitness business now, that's like one of their first barriers or first objections is like, like I don't really, and they come up with a million excuses. It all comes back to the fact that they're really uncomfortable with like putting content out into the world.
I was extremely uncomfortable. I'm a really shy person naturally. Yeah, which sounds crazy, but I promise you, like, if we're at a party, I'm not the person standing on the table, like, getting things going. Like, I much would prefer just like chill environments. And so getting on camera was not something I was comfortable with at all. And it took a long time and a lot of reps to start, first of all, just feeling comfortable doing that, but then also being able to figure out, okay, what is a way to communicate to people about fitness to first of all teach them well and allow them to be safe and inspired, but also be able to just keep it engaging because there is a bit of a game that you have to play to be able to get people into your world. So it was not easy to begin with.
Do you so someone had just brought up a really old piece of content. Someone Google searched my name the other day and found like I don't know, like my Instagram. I think I maybe started at grad school, so maybe it was 10 years ago. And I look back and I was like, oh, cringe. Do you have any that jump off the page that you're like, oh, I should go delete that? Like that's not good.
Where do I even start?
Come
I mean,
on.
there are so many things where it's just you watch me and you're like, "Oh, honey, like what are you doing?" It's just not engaging. I have no life in me. I'm so nervous about getting the script perfect or being able to show everything perfectly that I'm just not seeing that there's a human being on the other side of the lens. And that's kind of the mindset shift that I eventually moved into is I'm speaking to yes, it's a camera, but there are real people on the end that are going to be using this information. And certainly everyone has their own kind of shtick or their own personality that they want to put out in the world, but I want to be extremely relatable. I want people to feel like they can walk into the room with me and let their guard down and feel like it's a safe space. And so I've had to really work on how do I make that come across in my videos, because that's what I want people to experience.
Now, so I kind of have a couple questions off of the back to that. One would be, as back then, like your options for media when it came to social media were very limited, right? So I remember like videos started at like, I don't know, something like 15 seconds, and then they went to like a minute, something like that. What was it, a switch that flipped that, maybe broke that down to a more conversational style, or was it more gradual? Like, I feel like in the interest of relatability, I think people always look to like, well, okay, sure, but now you're like violently good at it, like scary, almost pathologically not. No, I don't even know if I'm talking to you or the character on Instagram right now. Like, you are
No.
scary good at it. But like, what was it a deliberate conversation? Was it like dead behind the camera going, yo, we got to run that back for the 65th time because like that was way too Stephen Hawking's computer, like it was way too robotic? Or was it just like one day you're like, oh, okay, like I get it. Like how did that transition go from like, I'm now comfortable doing this, or are you still uncomfortable doing it?
So many things. Certainly anything, like I have a lane where I feel extremely comfortable and I could go into a situation and be able to wing it. But there are other situations where there are unknowns or it's slightly outside of my comfort zone where I have to pump myself up. I mean, there's because I'm shy, because I'm quiet naturally. I'm always myself when I am doing my coaching online. I'm always myself, but I have to turn up the volume about 150% to have it be able to have a real spark. Because if I'm just talking like I'm talking to you, it doesn't translate the same way. I give the example sometimes because I train people in their houses. I have some people come to a gym, and then I do this stuff online. If I were to show up at my client's house with the same energy that I coach to the camera online, he would be like, leave. This is so obnoxious. So you have to learn how to turn up the volume on your personality to be able to read the room. But all that said, how I got better, step one was I call Dennis my media trainer because he's wonderful. We are married and we also work together. And we've developed this relationship where we understand that when we give feedback, it's not like a personal attack. And he's really, really good at delivering feedback in a way that isn't hurtful. Where I have had some people deliver feedback in a way that I was like, okay, I had a videographer once be like, Kelsey, can you just make your face better? And he was just like,
Oh,
just make it better. Like no specific feedback. But anyway, Dennis and I, this kind of thing that we have going back and forth, he'll be very direct and say, hey, you need more energy. Make sure that when you're doing this, you're portraying this in that way. So he gives like very good feedback. And so over time, rep after rep, I understand now when I need to be looking into the lens. I understand now the energy that I need to have. I think another thing that's helpful too. So first of all, it's just the rep after rep. It doesn't matter if it's not live. You can just do it a million times and it doesn't matter. Number two is live videos. That actually helps a lot. Going live on Instagram, I used to do that a lot. And you have to be somewhat natural at some point. You just have to put yourself out there. Third, collaborations. Doing collaborative videos was a really, really easy way. Like I've done a million with Dawn. I've done a million with Luca, and I know you know both of those guys. And they're like my brothers, and I respect them so much as colleagues. And so I love making videos with them because the rapport is there, and they're just so good at teaching that it's a really natural way to be able to get in the good work of creating content that is truly valuable, but you can also have that human element because you're just talking with your brother. So that has also been a really helpful thing for me.
one thing that so meeting Dawn, meeting Luca, meeting you, I met like through you guys as a proxy, a part of the fitness industry that I didn't know existed. Cause I'm like, well, like because like I look at Dawn's audience, for example, and I'm like, where do you find these people? Like, I've never seen any one of those people on anywhere in my Explore page, on a comment of anything I've ever done. But I mean, I have a certain understanding of our audience. When did, like, from a business sense, the evolution of your presence online, when did that start to like cultivate analytically, like cultivate in like, hey, what are we doing here? Like, okay, we're creating content, we're an audience, or was this hardwired into like the email inception? Like, email is a tricky thing, and a lot of people kind of build it in reverse of the way you guys have done it, right? Where people will get 2 million followers, and then they'll go, I need a newsletter, I need an email list. Like, at what point during your content development did you start looking at this very analytically through the lens of like, okay, yes, you mentioned earlier, like, I'm talking to a person, but you really dial in the specifics of who that person is. When did that become like a realization to you?
Well, there's a few things. I mean, I think naturally I figured that there would be more women who would be drawn to me and my workouts and all the things and just the way that I talk about training and women's bodies and all of these things. Like, I just, you can kind of assume that that is who's going to follow, but also the data is there. Just in Instagram analytics, you can see the gender breakdown, you can see the age breakdown, and we've also done a lot of Facebook advertising over the years. So after a while, you start to notice purchasing patterns and opt-in patterns. And for us, it tends to be women between the ages of 25 and 55 years old in English-speaking countries. And that's kind of our demographic. So when I speak into the lens, I am talking to Jennifer. She is 42 years old and she lives in the Midwest. And she probably has a couple kids running around, but she wants to get in a quick workout. She's got 30 minutes. Like, we can't mess around here. We got to get it done. Otherwise it's not going to happen. And so I know who I'm talking to now because of all these things. Also, another key piece that I think people miss a lot is surveying your audience. We survey our audience so much. We do that through email. We have Facebook groups. We do that in Facebook groups. On Instagram, they have different polls and things that you can do. That's a really great way to get data on your people and to understand more about who they are and what they want.
Is this something that when you guys adopted social platforms out of the affiliate email marketing strategy, that this was the approach from the jump, or was there more of like a discovery phase of social, of like, we don't really know what this thing is, we're going to put out content and see what happens? Like, how deliberate were these efforts in the early days?
I'll be honest. I mean, we wanted to create a business where we could have a lifestyle where we created workouts that were helpful to people, where we could travel where we wanted to go. It wasn't so premeditated that we knew exactly who we wanted to serve and exactly what the product was going to be. Because we were so early in the online space, it has evolved so much and continues to evolve. So I would say after some time and you start noticing the patterns of who tends to be more attracted to your stuff, not just like who's showing up, but like who's buying. It's like, if someone is buying and they tend to be in certain demographics and those things keep showing up, then you want to start catering more to those audiences. So it was a little bit deliberate after a while.
You talked about like the evolution of social media, and obviously like I'm at a point now where I've given up. Like, I've all but thrown my hands in the air. Are you on TikTok?
I have a TikTok, but I'm not like a TikToker. I don't have like a big following there.
This is why we fought. Like, I've made a conscious decision, and I've said this outright in meetings, like, if it gets done, I don't care, but I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not. Like, Instagram's where the buck stops for me. Like, it would be like carving stuff into the side of a cave, and someone goes, hey, we got this like printing press. I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I'm sitting here etching it into the wall forever. I don't care I don't care how quick it can print books. What has been, from a business standpoint, what has been maybe the hardest adaptation to make with the evolution of social media since the inception of the business? Are there single events where you're like, oh fuck, like, we need to pay attention to this?
Well, we're in a really interesting period of time right now because short form content has been so pushed, and the type of content, I think just because of the TikTok era, has changed drastically. And it's something that I am currently wrestling with because I want to create, of course, I want to create things that are fun and like entertaining to an extent, but I always go back to, I want to add value in the things that I'm doing. But a lot of the really short form stuff, I used to do so many videos with Don and Luca where we were teaching very specific things in 3 minute to 10 minute video. And now those types of things, you'd get two people viewing that on Instagram. I don't even know if that would ever work on TikTok because I'm not a TikToker, but I tend to like the things where I can really communicate things effectively, and short form is not my favorite way to do it. So I'm in that evolution right now and exploring different ways that we can continue to really make an impact and trying to see the future of what this world is going to be, because I don't know if if people are just there to be entertained and if that's the future, or if there are opportunities for longer form, for it to be, first of all, beneficial for you to be able to grow. But then ultimately, if you want to run a business, you have to be able to monetize it. So what's the point of having 2 million followers if you don't have a way to monetize it?
Now, if you were to start over today, like if you were to be in your same situation, but we're mid stride here and whatever this social media social experiment is, like, and I'm sure you would probably get this question a lot, is like, what would be the advice you'd give yourself in understanding a little bit more, being able to terraform the platform, understanding like, customer behavior, consumer behavior. Like if someone was starting today and like wanted to do, like, I want to, I'm young, blah, 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 all this fun stuff. I want to do an online business. Like how different would it be from how you guys started, and what would those major differences be?
So first and foremost, yes, social media is important for an online business because if nothing else, it's like an online resume. Like even if you're not there like to get millions of views, people will look you up and want to see kind of your style and what you're about. So it's important. But first and foremost, email list is everything. That has been our biggest sales driver for the last decade. In the ups and downs of all the different social channels, email, you own your list. If Instagram shuts down or TikTok shuts down, people who have those platforms lose everything. They don't have a business anymore. But if you have an email list, you can use it for so many different things in so many different ways. So that's probably the most important thing to focus on. And it's really easy. There are a lot of systems. Dennis, and I'm not going to pretend like I know everything about this because Dennis runs that part of the business. He is so incredibly good with it. So anyone watching this, he's going to come out with a course eventually. But that is definitely one of the most important things of an online business.
Now, when you said you're kind of right in the middle of the understanding the landscape and the evolution of short form content, like projecting outward now, like where do you look at the biggest opportunities for growth from a business perspective as far as leveraging, maybe not even social media, maybe just like a fitness industry at large? Like, if you were to forecast what the next 5 years looks like from just growth of the business, what do you see the biggest opportunities as?
Well, one thing that I think could make a big difference is actually putting more focus on the long form, like YouTube type stuff. And so what's great about that is you can take out splices and put them on the different social channels for short form. But I think YouTube and things like this, podcasting, longer form stuff, because it's going to live there forever. I mean, you can search on TikTok, but Instagram, if you spend a full day creating one post, in 2 weeks, no one's going to be able to find it again because it's not a search engine. But things like YouTube, if you create this amazing thing, it could live on for years and you could get tons of traffic for years by focusing on those types of things. So I think, yes, the short form Instagram stuff is important, but if you're thinking about building longevity, a YouTube subscriber is going to be more bought in because they're spending more time with you. A podcast subscriber is going to be more bought in because they're listening to you talk all the time. They're spending an hour plus with you every day versus a 7-second cute little dance. So I think that will be important.
How do you deal with the interaction, or the intersection rather, of like social media and real life? Like, I'm sure I know you're at a point where, like, if you walk down the street, someone's going to be, or if you're in a gym, hey, I follow you on Instagram. Like, I think one of the issues that I see posed most often is maybe something tantamount to sanctity of like, hey, I really just don't want myself out there. Like, do you ever have a tough time with like oh, I don't want to go to work today, Dennis. Fuck you. Like, how do you draw a line? Like, because I think the thing that I preach is sustainability, right?
Yeah.
Like, do the thing that allows you to do it for the longest and you'll win. Like, I guess maybe a two-part question as far as like, have you had to, in the course of the last decade, have sort of a concerted introspective conversation with yourself and be like, okay, what is the pitch, cadence, frequency, message that I'm comfortable with? And what goes in this little life box over here that doesn't get to go on the internet?
Yeah. It's interesting because there are a lot of different strategies. If you're thinking about social media growth, there are a lot of things that can work. And also, there is an element of people feeling like if they know you a little bit, they feel more bought in. So it's not like you have to decide for yourself how much of yourself you want to put out there. I am a very private person actually, and so it's a little bit of a struggle sometimes to think about, okay, how much do I actually want to share on the internet because this lives forever, and I don't always want to do that. There are certain things that coincide with our business and my personal life and story that I have decided to share because I know it will make a big difference for other people. So it's a kind of a little bit of a long story, but back in college, I developed anorexia. I was a basketball player, and I kind of got hit by a bus with this eating disorder and exercise bulimia. I started over exercising, and I really was trying to just be better at my sport, and that's how it started. And so I said, well, if I'm going to get more playing time, if I want to be better, I need to eat better. I need to work out more. And this thing just snowballed into something that was really scary, really fast. And I lost a third of my body weight in a few months. Yeah, like, and I've never been an overweight
Yeah.
person.
Right. This is a video podcast for those of you unaware. Just go to YouTube to see what a third of the body weight would leave Kelsey with.
Yeah, it was not a good situation. Like the doctor told me if I went for a brisk walk, I could go into cardiac arrest. And so for someone who was very type A, very driven, like always could trust my instincts, it was a really scary thing to be like, okay, I can't trust myself anymore. I can't be an athlete anymore because it could actually kill me. How do I live my life? And so I ended up having to go into treatment, and it was really hard. But through that process, I then got healthy after, some years of really working on recovery. And then I came to this place where Dennis and I wanted to do this. And I was like, do I share this part of my life? It was so painful. It was so hard for me to talk about. I grew up very like, I had a wonderful upbringing. But I was always like very shy, and I didn't really want to like show my body ever, just wanted to always be modest and all these things. And so then I'm in this world where people are in their sports bras all the time. And so it's like this mix of like eating disorder recovery and also this hypersexualized fitness industry. And like, how do I exist in this world, share who I am, and also be able to protect that piece of me that is very vulnerable. So it's been a journey, all that to say.
Now, you bring up an interesting point. And I'm going to try and tread lightly, and I am not good at that, both physically and metaphorically. So I have a gripe with everything. Let's just get that out of the way. And
I
one
love
of
it.
my many gripes is so of late, let's call it the last 5 years. What is time? I don't want to say weaponization, but it's a word that comes to mind. The mental health conversation in fitness has been a really more prevalent than
Yeah.
it has been, more accepted. And there are great stories, there are great resources, there are people who sort of like transparently divulge things that other people couldn't imagine talk about. Like even just recalling that I have friends with eating disorders, that the thought of me going, hey, you want to just like talk to like tens of thousands of people, and they'd be like, are you out? I would rather jump off a building.
Hmm.
How do you appraise, maybe that's the right word, how do you appraise the current state of, the intersection between content, the the underlying potential monetary benefit of, this level of transparency, as so far as you see it at scale? Because like I don't I don't I just don't think some people are genuine, or they're just very poorly incentivized. And for someone who, I've never gone through this, so I'm the last person that should be talking about it. So I'm interested in your take of, like, as you know, end up inadvertently probably consuming some content with similar stories from creators that, like, maybe lean like kind of too far into it. Like, how do you deal with, maybe even a broader question is, how do you deal with content of other creators across the board? Because it's like we can all kind of get lumped into one thing. Like, what do you do? I work on the internet. It's like, oh, you're an influencer. It's like, this influence is nothing. Like, this is not, I'm not very
I think you're
influential.
very influential.
That's terrifying. Because I hope there's not a bunch of like cynical pessimists that just yell into the internet. But like, how do you approach that? How do you deal with that? Because it's something to me that I see so pervasive, so insidious, and inauthentic, and disingenuous and predatory. Like, what is your thought process when you start to see some of these things, like almost preying on like a people of, that had a particular disorder?
Yeah, I have lots of thoughts and feelings on this. It just a preface about my personality. I am so chill. It takes a lot to piss me off, but this type of thing drives me absolutely crazy. If people are utilizing, you know, and sometimes I don't know people's experience, but if they're being disingenuous or telling like half truths about challenges that they've gone through in order to make sales, I cannot stand it. And if people are taken advantage of, that is one of the things that drives me the craziest in the world. I cannot stand narcissists. I have no patience for this type of stuff. That said, I can't control the things that other people put on the internet. And if I were to just spend my time consuming that information, it would drive me crazy. So to be honest, I don't follow people who are like that. And I try not to pay attention as much as I can. What I do take from it is how, if someone says something that pisses me off or is wrong information or is, just blatant in any way, I'll say, okay, how can I actually teach something that is the truth from either my experience or things that I've learned from other people, and try to put that type of spin on it, because otherwise I would just go crazy.
Have you ever had to deal with anything directly, like I don't know, YouTube scares me. Like, the YouTube comment
Yeah.
section is where cats playing piano turn into Hitler. It's like, well, that cat's way cuter than me. Like, I'm definitely Hitler. Like, I have blue eyes. Like, I'm not even two comments away. The first comment is he's Hitler. Like, I guess, like, I don't know. Like, it's YouTube is an insane place. It is where humanity goes to die.
People
It's
are really mean on YouTube. They're much meaner than other places.
I don't know. It can't be real. Like, these people don't exist. It's not like the lady in the grocery store in front of you
Yeah.
in checkout is like, bitch. Like, I don't know how, like, because first exposure to negative, whether it's negative comments, negative feedback, name calling, whatever. Like, do you remember, or maybe you've cultivated a community that's devoid of it, but at your scale, I would imagine it's almost impossible to avoid. Like,
Mhm.
how has your thought process around managing that inevitable side of business at scale on the internet, like, evolved over time?
So, for being a sensitive person, I've had to really develop a thick skin and really make choices about whose opinions I value. Because if you make things and put them in a public place, especially on the internet, people are going to say things, sometimes positive, sometimes not so positive. So, I would say my first dipping my toes into the negative comments was comments about my body and what people would say about me, and how I am so muscular. I look so like a man. One person asked if I was genetically a woman. People like, yes.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and what else? I mean, just about how I'm so flat chested, which these, some of these things are not untrue, but it's just like the way that people say them. It's like, is that necessary? Would you say that to my face, kind of thing? So it's just people are gonna say things, and so you just have to decide whose opinion you pay attention to. And so for a while, I was doing this thing where, kind of like Jimmy, what is it? Jimmy, not Jimmy Kimmel. I can't remember. Whoever does the mean tweets, it's either Jimmy Fallon or Jimmy Kimmel. But have you seen that?
I
You
think I've
haven't seen
seen
that?
clips of it. Yeah,
It's
I'm
just like
familiar with
celebrities
it. Yeah.
read, yeah, they read the mean tweets about themselves.
Oh, right. I think it was David Letterman, was it not?
Oh, was it?
Or
Yeah, it was
I
one of
think
those
I
late
hope that
night
was the last
shows.
time I watched late night. I think Letterman might be
Oh,
dead now, so aging myself a little bit. But yeah, I'm familiar with the premise.
yeah. So I would do this piece where I would just read the mean things that people would say about me and kind of just like make light of it and then turn it into a positive teaching moment. Because at a certain point, it's almost comical because what are you gonna do? You got
Yell
Steve.
mostly.
Yeah, yeah, that's
Figure out where
true.
they live, go to their house, find them in public. I told a kid in Australia that I would see him soon, and then he got really apologetic. He put the gym that he worked at. I was like, dude, I go to gyms and I go to Australia.
Stop.
I'll see you soon, man. Yo, dude, I threaten lives. I go for the throat. I don't
Wait,
care.
what kind of stuff do
Reality.
people say to you?
This one in particular, and he's probably going to watch this now because he's a huge fan. Because he's really scared. Just they, oh, this guy's an idiot. He doesn't know anything. He's a guru, and I was like, oh, but like, not tag me in it. This particular case was a kid who would repeatedly repost my things and be like, this guy's a moron. He doesn't know. And this is like, not to be disparaging, but this is like a first or second year PT in a commercial gym. And
Yeah.
I was like, and I just messaged him. I was like, hey, man, like, I know where you work. I'll see you soon. And a week later, like, apologetic, reposting all the stuff. Like, oh yeah, I am so spiteful and petty. It's amazing. If you, and now here's the thing, and this ties into kind of a question I wanted to ask is, it's social media is a lens for other people to look into your life, but to me, I've also seen it as somewhat of a mirror. Like, it's a weird constant in my life where I can be introspective about my behaviors on social media and be like, yo, what is going on in my life that I'm like this? Like, I'm under a tremendous amount of stress right now, so people are going to get into the fucking neck. Like, if you slide into my DMs right now, and I know now, but before I didn't. Like, when you were, kind of wrestling with this, like, okay, what do I put out, what do I not, I've had this traumatic life event, it could be a net positive. Do you ever feel like, the social media machine kind of looks back too closely and you're like, oh wait, I'm doing things to propagate the bottom line or to push an algorithm? Like, how many times or how often or how do you manage like QAing yourself as a person who also has a social media presence?
Yeah, well, when it comes to like my personal experiences and story, like that's never been the focal point of the business, because I try to help people feel great and get more fit and all of that kind of stuff. The tricky part with that piece is something that you might, I don't know, I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on it
Mm.
because I am very careful with my words and what I will and won't say. And I can't remember if we were recording or not, but you said something about belly fat and how that like that word like doesn't even like roll off the tongue. That's how I feel too. And there are certain things where it's just like, like I don't want to say these things. So when it comes to like sales bottom line, like I feel like I have a pretty good balance on sharing my story to help relate to people, but not using that as a guilt trip to get people in the door. Because first of all, like I am not a doctor and I don't treat eating disorders. Like that's not like that's outside of my scope of practice. So that's an easy one to just obviously not be a part of it. But um, the tricky part for me is I don't believe it's inherently wrong to want to lose weight or to want to change your body. There is a problem though when you're on this spectrum of making choices with food and having emotions around it where it can become disordered before it becomes a clinical eating disorder. There are kind of disordered behaviors before it becomes clinical like that. And I need to be really careful in how I support people in their journey of if it's weight loss or if it's gaining muscle or if it's changing their body shape in any way. If they don't want to change their body at all, how do I support them and help them reach their goals without shaming them or with being able to lift them up in the process? So it's a delicate balance, but I'm also a little bit more aware than probably most people just because of my experience with that.
How did you, or when did you start to realize your addressable market? And from like a business sense, kind of going back to this idea, like I have no idea where to find the people that you and Dawn and Luca sell to. I want to know because there's a lot of them. Like I go
Yes.
outside sometimes and I don't know where they are because I go outside. I'm like, oh, it's like a bunch of guys that kind of look like me, and I go back inside. But like, what advice maybe would you give to someone maybe exactly like me in reaching the broad audience? Because I think a lot of times, in the fitness industry, so far as it intersects with social media, it's like we get very siloed very quickly.
Yeah.
And there's a sub community within a sub community within a sub community within a sub community, and we're fighting over this infested waters. But like you've found like a blue water resource that's completely seemingly untapped, and I could be wrong, but it just seems to me that you guys have reached an outer valence of influence online that's like most people would die to get to, but they're just kind of too busy fighting for the same fished out pond. Like was it deliberate? How is it you go about addressing it? How do you go about targeting or understanding like the like how to provide value to these people? Because like I think most people they take a very similar approach to everyone else, and it's very industry centric, where like I see the approach and I see like where the content lands, and it's like you guys are landing on Mars. Like you're nowhere near where other people are. It's like when did that become realized? How did that become realized?
Well, I think there's a couple components. One of them is the data and Facebook and being able to do advertising on that, or having an organic post on Facebook go viral. I mean, there's a lot of people are like, oh, Facebook, what is that? It has been a really great place to be able to learn about our audience and grow our audience historically. So there's that piece, is being able to just look at the data, and you can target, and whether you're using Google ads or YouTube ads, whatever types of ads you're doing, you could target specific people. So if Jordan, you wanted to target women 25 to 55, you could do that in a couple clicks, right?
It's scary that you know how bad that sounds. If you want to target women between 25 and 35, go in an alley. Like that's what this looks like when it targets women from 25 to 35.
So you can't
it's on
take
a
that
billboard.
soundbite.
Oh, my media guy is 100% clipping that. It's like, this is how you target women. I'm like Ted Bundy, like get in the back of the Volkswagen
I was
Beetle.
going to say, if you want to be canceled, there you go.
Oh, I haven't been canceled yet. I just don't think people care enough. They're like, he's yelling again. It's fine.
Well, there's that piece, is being able to utilize advertising, and you can get really granular with how you want to find people that way. The other piece, if you like, it's so easy to get into a circle of people or an industry, like a kind of subcategory of fitness or strength training or whatever it is, and only spend your time around these people. Well, of course, our worlds will get small if we're only hanging out and learning from and experiencing training with people who all look like us and talk like us and think like us, of course. So in pre-pandemic, I wasn't quite as much on the road as you were, but there were times when I got off a plane and like, what city am I in? Because I was traveling so much, and I was just I was sliding into DMs right and left, being like, hey, I love your work. I've taken your course. Can I come and meet you? Let's grab coffee, dinner. If you want to shoot some content together, that'd be really fun. And so I did that all over the country, and I met some amazing people, learned from a lot of different people, and that kind of opened up my world, certainly being able to meet more colleagues, but also just different people who were potential followers or buyers, because you have a whole network then of other people that you can be in front of. So I think that's also beneficial too, is collaboration, to kind of get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, I think there's two things there. One, like the real social network. My real social network is this guy, but it's not the app on here. It's not Instagram.
Yeah.
It's my ability to just message you or Dawn or Luke and be like, hey, what are you doing? You gonna do a podcast?
Yes.
Like, and but that all that like was born of face to face, right? Like, and I think that's something where when people talk business, and they talk investing, and it's something that I'm lucky to have business partners who really see the big picture because like they don't question an expense of me getting on a plane to go see a friend. And it's like, I think we're lucky to have a vocation and a career where that is, it's such a, it's an immutable principle. It's such a straight line between having a strong social network of like-minded people where people are like, I'm going to buy this new camera. It's like, dude, your iPhone is great. And that Sony A7 III is round trip flights to 3 cities in the States. So like maybe you just go actually get some real FaceTime. Because I think the idea of social network and social networking is like no, social networking is like sharing dinner, having coffee, or like god forbid like actually lifting weights, which like people don't tend to really do anymore. So that's like the one. And the other thing that I find that you've done exceptionally well, and I've, for those of you wondering, and when Dennis releases the course on media and email marketing, like take it, because we call up and we go, help me, is the meat, there's there's this idea of like product market fit, but I think there's an evolution of this where it's product market media fit, where platform is really telling. Because like if we're looking at who has money to spend now, it's like kind of the boomery generation, and there is such a push towards TikTok, and you kind of made a quip about Facebook, and obviously it's not from your experience because your experience has been so positive in being able to so accurately target markets, but like also know where your market lives. Like you could, like, let's say TikTok has some sort of advertising capabilities. Maybe it does. Maybe the Chinese government's
Mm-hmm.
really interested in this. And if you tried to target your same demographic on TikTok, I would imagine per dollar spent, you'd be far less successful because the absolute number of people aren't on that platform. Like understand where your audience lives, I think is something that you guys have done so well. And it's almost like people miss it. It's like, have you ever heard it's a riddle. It goes, as I was headed to St. Ives, I met a man with 7 wives. Every wife had 7 sacks. Every sack had 7 cats. Every cat had 7 kittens. Kittens, cats, sacks, and wives. How many were headed to St. Ives? Do you know the answer?
No. What is it?
It's one. It's just the guy, because the beginning of the statement says, as I was headed to St. Ives, I met a man with 7. The cats and the fucking sacks and the guy were just sitting on the side of the fucking road. Like that's not part of the story. So everyone misses it because it's like this linguistic sort of flow thing. And it's like this linguistic sleight of hand where it's like, I think one of the things that you guys like, and when I talked to Dennis, I'm like, you sly son of a bitch, was like, yeah, like people like laugh at Facebook, but it's like, yeah, but go to the demographic with the money and draw a straight line to the platform that most young kids like will like laugh about. And then just go, oh wait, that's where the intersection between the people with the money and the social media platform is. I'm going to make that as a target. Like it's nuts to me when kids come and like, oh, I'm going to get on TikTok, and like you alluded to it earlier. Like, where's your monetization strategy, right? Like
Right.
it's so fun. You're a use case for it that I'll use so often when I talk to people, because we've leveraged Facebook and meta marketing. And I'm blown away when you look at the analytics of like, no, Facebook still slaps. It just slaps for this like older group that would probably never use the word slaps properly in a sentence. But like that's where you find them. So, there's so much, like, I think there's whether it's deliberate or as byproduct. Now, knowing Dennis and you, I know it's probably more deliberate. Like, what are like the more surprising returns as far as strategy go? Like you mentioned, challenges 4 times a year. Like, what are some in your mind from a business perspective in the fitness industry? Some things that like these are just really big rocks. Whether it's client acquisition strategies, lead generation, lead magnet, funnel creation. Like, where would you go? Like, look, if you're going to do this, obviously email list, you need to have these pieces in place. I think most people listening are probably on the side of the creator looking to create a business. And yeah, I think they just get so pulled into like, this post is an infographic. This post is my dinner. This post is my training. Oh, infographic again. It's like, what are like in your mind, like the immutable principles of marketing fitness on the internet?
You have to create an ecosystem. So it's not just about growing a social media channel. It's, yes, that is a piece of it, but you have to have a full ecosystem to have a business. Because like I said, if you just have the one piece, like Instagram, if that gets shut down, you don't have a business anymore. So by ecosystem, it all comes back to email. So creating an email list and nurturing them. We email out every single day, but you don't have to do that, especially to begin with. It's not all like hard sales. It's providing value. So whether it's a workout or a recipe or an encouraging tip that I have, whatever it is, emailing them frequently is a great way to just keep them in your world. But how do you get people on your email list? Well, creating content is a great way to get organic people on your list, whether that be on Instagram or YouTube, whatever kind of ways you want to do it. But having an opt-in, so like there's a few different things that we've done along the way. We'll give away, 3 workouts, or we've done also quiz funnels. That's been a huge thing for us over the years. We've had a training quiz. So it doesn't work in every kind of niche of the industry, but for who we are serving, we know that we're going to be providing 30-minute workouts for people. Okay, but what kind of workout do they need? Well, they take a quiz and it guides them through about 10 questions based on their age, demographics, type of equipment that they have, goals that they have, and that it leads them to a landing page of one of 3 or 4 programs that we have. And we say, based on who you are and what you want, this is a great program for you. And for us, before they get to that landing page, we have an email opt-in. So whether or not they buy the program, we get their email. And that we've done that with running paid traffic and also just organic traffic, putting a link in your bio or throwing it up in your story, whatever it is. It's a great way to just get people on your email list, even if they don't purchase. But then there's also the potential that they could purchase that program and then being a paid customer after that. So basically, if you think about social media as a way to get in front of people, then you could also graduate into paid ads beyond that, but then having a way to get them into your ecosystem, which is essentially your email list that you can go on nurturing them, is a great way to just make sure that you can continue staying in front of people.
Do you ever struggle with the content creation side? Like, did you ever just like put the bucket down in the gold content well and just go, it's dry? Like, I don't know. Like, I got nothing.
Absolutely. I mean, it's because the landscape is changing so much. There are certain things I'm like, I don't want to create that type of stuff. So yeah, absolutely. And
like, what would be an example? What would be an example of like, okay, like,
I'm not going to do like trending dances. Like, again, no shade to people who love doing that.
No. This is my show. Shade. All the shade. Stop. And if you're in public, like extra stop or do the dance in the street so you can get hit by a bus. I'm bringing you into the mud. You knew what you were getting.
That's true. I agreed to be on this show, so it's by your rules. That's fair. I get it, right? So that's where, like, if I'm like, I'll take a dance class with my girlfriends for fun, but I'm not gonna like that. That's not like a part of my content strategy. Like, I just don't want to do that. So I would say that's definitely something. Just the whole concept. I understand why things trend. It's entertaining. However, I do wonder what that does for the state of our universe in creativity and creating things that have depth and can help us get better. Like, yes, I understand entertainment for entertainment's sake, but even that, like, where's the creativity in our entertainment? So I'm not saying that trends are completely invaluable, but I do struggle with that element of it. And I want to create things that are really cool,
I want to know what makes you cringe. Because like you've had like this politician disclaimer to like well, I'm not saying, look, I understand, but some people, it's not the way I do it. And I'm like, oh no, like I want to know like, yo, Dan, yo, you awake? Yo, check this out. This sucks. Like, What is it that just
Ah,
like, yes, that exacerbated. Yes, we've worn her down in an hour. What is it that you look at? Because to me, it's everything. So I want to know what your like polished view of the world, like what is it that you just see and you're like, no, or at the
the,
very least, maybe I'll meet you halfway so I don't have to drag you all the way in
okay,
the mud.
okay,
Is like things that you go, that's just not gonna sell. Like, and feel free to do both.
okay. Yeah, so you just want to open up the can right here.
But yeah, I
So
want the good
one,
shit.
yeah, I know. So one thing is exercises. So I'll speak specifically to fitness first. Exercises that are so egregiously unsafe that no one should do them. That drives me crazy because some like Joe in the middle of nowhere who doesn't know his body, is not familiar with how to lift weights, is going to try this, barbell like crazy thing on the ab machine, and they're going to get hurt really badly. So I cannot stand that. That said, you'll hear Don talk about like fluffy exercises. Have you heard him talk about that before?
Yes.
Yeah.
Many
So
times.
it's like there are certain things where if you watch a if you're going to a lecture, it's very different than being on social media. So like understanding that people go to certain places for an education and certain places are for more entertainment, but social media can be a mix of both. But like if I were to just show my exact workout that I do every single day, it would be so boring for people. Like they would be like, "Oh, you're doing that again?" I'm like, "Yes, I am. I'm doing it again and I'm getting better at it." But like it's not as sexy as, something that has a little bit more interest to it. So I'm not saying the things that you put out there are BS, but there are some things where you have to have a little level of interest. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it. That's
Yeah.
it? That can't be
No.
it. Okay.
No, okay. Okay, so the other piece that I don't like this. I when people are overtly like uh and this is going to sound like a politician, but I honestly like I hate when people are put other people down. So like there are certain people who like make fun of fat people or like just yes, like there are certain creators out
What?
there who are like in the fitness industry who like just say things that are completely like why would you say that about somebody? And I'm not here for that kind of stuff. Like people who just first of all lie, second of all like put people down just to like make themselves look better or smarter. I can't handle that.
That is wild. You
Yeah.
I want to like next time we're together, I'm gonna like compare explore pages. I'd be like, what
Yeah.
is your Instagram like? What does that lens of the world look like for
So like
you?
Care
Because
Bears
like,
and puppies.
yeah, mine's like people tattooing their eyeballs. It's just I just oh God. Now okay now I don't you're rubbing off on me the positive side. Like, what are things that when you started this 10 years ago that you couldn't have imagined? Like what are the unknown or the former unknown unknowns? You're like, okay, like I didn't know what this was, but this can be X, Y, and Z, or like, the net positives that really keep you doing it. Cause like, I know you guys well enough and it's not money that's driving the ship. Like, what is it that kind of like, okay, today I wake up and this is still what I choose to do?
Yeah, I think it's such a cool day and age that we live in that we can literally reach anyone in any part of the world. I mean, 15 years ago, even, we wouldn't, you and I probably would never have been able to meet. We just never would have crossed paths. And now I can be in your inbox in 1.5 seconds. It's just pretty amazing the people that I've met that I would have never been able to have access to. Also, I mean, just the opportunities. Uh, I have had some people just send me DMs that have given me incredible opportunities to, like, I created a workout program with a couple celebrities, and I would have never been able to do that and be a part of this amazing, huge shoot if it weren't for social media. And then, of course, like just being able to actually help people in a way that's accessible. Like a lot of people that we work with, they don't there's a lot of reasons that they don't go to a gym, but they don't feel comfortable going to a gym. They don't have time to go to a gym. They just like being in their home. They don't have a lot of time. Maybe they don't have a lot of money. So being able to create something that fits into those boxes is a really special thing. And so I love that element of it too.
Has your favorite part, or has there been a favorite part, and like has it changed? Like if it were to all to go away tomorrow, what would be like the biggest takeaway? Like what would be like, wow, that was cool because of this one thing?
There are no limits on what we can create because we have these skills of knowing that you can build an email list, you can create a website in 30 minutes. You know how to have a conversation with a real human. You know how to create content on camera. You could create literally any type of business that you want. You could get any type of job with these skills. So for me, I'm like, yeah, I'm so proud of what we've done. I'm so grateful for every opportunity that's come our way. And also, these skills can be translated into absolutely anything that we want going forward. So I'm really, really grateful for that because I feel like creativity is unlimited. It's always ebbing and flowing throughout us. And if you ever decided that you wanted to go in a different direction, you could do a million things because of all these skills that you have and be able to crush it. So versus, our parents and grandparents generations where maybe they started working at Pepsi and they were there for 40 years. We could do that if we wanted, but you also have every opportunity ahead of you.
I don't know if your canary down the coal mine is the right way to word it, or like, just like you give me hope. Whenever I'm around you and Dennis, I'm like, oh, there's a reason to not hate at least everyone. No, I think that's a great note to end on. And I'll do the generic thing and go full circle. First off, I appreciate you taking the time. It's cool to wrap. Hopefully we can do this again in person at sometime soon. Do the thing that the podcast, the thing where you tell all the people all this stuff, and then I'll make sure to just, I'm going to give you an intro after. So I get to say all the things that you don't get to hear until the episode comes out. But go ahead, tell everyone like
Amazing.
Where they find you, where to reach out, where to follow FitBurn, all that stuff.
Amazing. So again, my name is Kelsey Heenan. My personal Instagram is The Daily Kelsey. Our fitness business is called HIITBURN. So it's like HIITBURN. So you can find us in the App Store or our website, on Instagram, all the places. I also have a new podcast called The First Hour with Kelsey Heenan. And I'm excited to hopefully have you on that the next time we get to hang out in person. I would love that so much. But yeah, those are all the things. And
Instagram, I got to say, puppy content, 10 out of 10. We could do a whole hour just on that. Just saying, you come for the workouts and the candor and the delivery and the business mind, but you stay. I mean, I could hear little footsteps if I'm not mistaken. I think he's somewhere close.
Yeah. Dennis took Ella to the park and she just came home.
I heard
after
her.
A great little run.
Yeah. Say hi for me. So cute.
I absolutely will. I love your love for puppies.
Okay. It's about the only love I have left now. It's all gone. It's all gone. That's it. Well, again, thank you so much. I appreciate your time. We'll see you soon.